My name is CHRISTIE True. I'm the director of King County's Department of Natural Resources and Parks, and I have a lot of people to introduce, but also many people to thank because there's so many people that make this extraordinary project here on the Duwamish River happen. But first, I want to acknowledge that we're on the traditional land of the first people of this region, the Duwamish people, past and present, to honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish descendants who are now affiliated with the Duwamish, Muckleshoot, and Suquamish tribes. I also want to thank the Stillaguamish, the Tulalip, the Snoqualmie, Suquamish, Muckleshoot, and Duwamish tribes for their support in protecting the cultural and historical resources that have been at this site. And finally, I want to thank the Muckleshoot and Suquamish tribes for the traditional ecological knowledge they shared with us toward restoring the fish habitat and these treaty-protected resources here at this site. Chinook wind really builds on steady progress that we've been making throughout the Green Duwamish watershed that connects the Cascade foothills down here to Puget Sound. We've restored many floodplains along the Green River and built salmon habitat and reduced flood risks through this area. We've also protected green space and farmland, and we've made sure that those areas are much more accessible to everybody who lives, works, and plays in our region. We've also removed thousands of toxic-coated pilings on Harbor Island in the Duwamish River, and just recently we finished construction of our state-of-the-art wet weather facility in Georgetown, and that will also be protecting the Duwamish and Elliott Bay. We still have a lot more to do, but it's really important that we take some time out to celebrate this particular project. To the project leads, Megan Webb and Laird O'Rollins, where are you? I know you're here. There you are. You're Megan. Amazing work that you have done on this project, and I know you've been working on it for a long time. So we're going to hear from some of our speakers, and so to start us off, we have King County Executive Dow Constantine.
Well, thank you, CHRISTIE, and thanks to everyone for joining in this celebration today here in beautiful Tukwila. I am thrilled to see this project reach this point. You know, they first showed this to me, and it didn't look like this. I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be a heavy lift to complete this project, but this is a remarkable achievement. And you know, this river has been central to the lifeways of the indigenous people of this region for all time. And then it was really in the last century and a half that industrialization straightened the river and hardened the riverbanks and deprived it of the habitat that the salmon need to be able to survive and thrive. The place we're standing in now, Chinook Wind, was, as I alluded, heavily developed. It was the site of a dilapidated hotel sitting in a sea of asphalt. And today, thanks to innovative funding, a strategy that was developed by our ingenious staff, and these remarkable folks who led the project, this urban riverbank now will offer, again, critical habitat for salmon and much needed green space as well for people in surrounding communities. Removing 250 tons of asbestos, hauling off some 112,000 tons of soil, and making sure that 92% of all of that debris was diverted away from our landfill. This is more than just mitigation. This is genuinely a transformation. The riparian planting was done by our partners at Dirt Corps. Thank you, Dirt Corps. And it included members, crew members from our jobs and housing crew. This was a program that we were able to stand up starting during COVID with federal funds to make sure that people who had been experiencing homelessness could get a home and also have a job so that they could begin working their way back to self-sufficiency. And it's been a really successful program with people working in a number of different fields, including this field here right behind us. You'll get to hear, in fact, I think from one or two of those crew members shortly, but I want to take a moment to recognize their contributions. We intentionally selected this location so that young salmon have a safe place to be as they transition from the freshwater upstream to the saltwater downstream and into Puget Sound. They need to be able to rest, to forage, to grow, to become stronger so that they can survive the journey ahead or be an excellent meal for orcas. Either way works for us. Our partners at the city of Tukwila will build a trail along the perimeter that connects Chinook Wind to Duwamish Gardens Park, offering more equitable access to this green space. Rare opportunities like this don't just present themselves, they're created. The way that we created this opportunity reflects the creativity of our staff and our partners of this whole community. A mitigation reserve program we established way back in 2012 makes it possible for public and private organizations to offset unavoidable impacts they may have to degraded wetlands. Sound Transit, in this case, contributed more than 13 million. Hey, right on cue, by the way, Julie, Tim. Sound Transit contributed more than $13 million to fund to offset light rail construction impacts in Federal Way and Sounder commuter rail extension between Tukwila and Auburn. And $11 million of that mitigation money was devoted to this project. In my role as King County Executive and as Chair of the Sound Transit Board, I am here to congratulate everyone who made this achievement possible. So let our success here inspire us to restore more of this river corridor, to see the potential beyond the pavement. And today we celebrate more than the completion of a successful project. We renew our commitment to a green, healthy future for the Duwamish River.
Hat slachel de sjayet siyam, heetsko eshavat ti de sjayus, kich sjayus siyam. Good day, family and friends. Thanking you for this opportunity to share this morning with you, to recognize this work, this important work. First of all, I'd like to thank my friend CHRISTIE for the opportunity and the invitation to share this time with you. Also want to thank our executive for the good words, for the acknowledgments, CEM. You know, it's sometimes it can be a little confusing as we stand in the middle of this hustle and bustle, and then yet you look behind me and observe what this place used to look like not so long ago, the home that it represents, not just to our salmon, but to the winged and to the four-legged and to us traditional people, us first people. It really is encouraging to see the efforts, to see and witness the success of all the blood, sweat, and tears, and in some cases literally, about what can happen when good people with good hearts and good ideas, when they meet and they come together about and witness the accomplishments that can occur when these people meet. I'm truly thankful for the effort here, and I'm also privileged to witness this version of respect to our natural resources. what this does for our beloved natural resources, our wildlife. What it does for that is beyond measure. And it really is encouraging to see work like this in this day and age, in 2023, what we can do. But it also reminds us, on the flip side, what we've done to this river system, to this watershed. You need to realize you can hear it and you can see it and even smell it. What we've done to this precious watershed. And so it's really helpful what this example that has been given to us on what we can do and what we can accomplish when we have when the intentions are in the right direction. Our intentions are true, and our intentions are genuine, without any agenda, with no hidden agenda here. It's clear what we want to do. It's clear what our focus is here. It's to help our land, to help our water, to help our resources. And this is a classic example of that. And I applaud the whole team, the different levels of government, the city, the county, both cities and the county, and the state, and even federal money. So I'm grateful once again for this opportunity to share this wonderful acknowledgement with you. And I truly am honored once again. CHRISTIE.
We're most successful when we have really strong partners at the federal level. And we've never had such a strong and important advocate as we have in the new Region 10 Administrator, Casey Sixkiller. Casey, please come up.
Thanks, Christy, and thank you, Warren, for really grounding us not only in your words, but in the space that we're here to celebrate today. Thanks to Executive Constantine, the entire King County team for inviting me, and most importantly for the leadership and the work that's reflected in the field behind us. I'm just thrilled to be here. Thrilled to be joined by regional leaders from across different sectors, all committed to improving the conditions of the green Duwamish River for fish and for people. The project we're celebrating is a testament to Executive Constantine's leadership and ability to bring people together around common goals, to be focused on outcomes, not just process. In my role leading the EPA's efforts to protect human health and the environment here in the Pacific Northwest and Alaska, addressing legacy contamination, improving water quality, and advancing the President's commitment to environmental justice are my top priorities, all three of which are reflected in the work being led by the EPA, the state of Washington, partners like King County, throughout the green Duwamish watershed. These efforts are part of our broader One River approach to EPA's work here, thinking beyond our Superfund operable units or individual restoration sites, and instead approaching our work as a continuum throughout the river. Earlier this year, EPA released our proposed cleanup plan for the East Waterway, right at the mouth of the Duwamish River. And in the fall of 2024, we anticipate cleanup beginning upriver in the lower Duwamish. These two cleanup projects represent nearly $500 million in public and private investment and are several decades in the making. And yet, it's projects like this one, 6 acres of pocket estuary, that are a critical piece of this overall effort. It has localized benefits here, of course, but it also benefits the work that will be occurring downstream to clean up sediments and control ongoing sources of contamination. It means that when fish make it through a remediated lower Duwamish, they'll have pockets of habitat that allow them to continue their journey upstream. And for juvenile salmon, they'll have a place to rest and rear before hitting that salt water and, maybe feeding the orcas, as the executive said. But projects like this aren't just about salmon. They advance a shared commitment to environmental justice. It's adding new green space in a highly developed and urbanized corridor, expanding opportunities for communities to benefit from the health and well-being that comes from access to nature. Standing here, I can see how this project fits into the greater network of the Duwamish Gardens and the Green River Trail. I can also see how infrastructure that people depend on for light rail, what the heck? Make it flow. From light rail and the interurban highway to stormwater infrastructure, how those impact this community and the environment. That is why it's going to take constellations of these kinds of partnerships, efforts that bring together transportation, private industry, community groups, regulators, and natural resource managers to make lasting positive change here and throughout the watershed. So thank you again to the county for its leadership and to all the partners who contributed that are helping to lead efforts up and down this river. Today really is a day to celebrate. Thank you. Wado.
The partnerships are very, very important, but the other thing is you need to have money. These projects don't happen without multiple funding sources, and our largest financial contributor was Sound Transit. So please join me in welcoming CEO from Sound Transit, Julie TIMM.
So thank you so much for having me here. I didn't realize when I was developing what I wanted to say for today that I would be standing literally right between the restoration and our train, by the way, on cue. I know. Truly, it's like coming full circle for me. The two great passions of my professional career are the environment and transportation, and to stand here at this moment between these two is truly an inspirational moment for me. At Sound Transit, our transformational work, our transformative work is truly connecting the Puget Sound region's communities, our transportation and our transit network with Link Light Rail as the cornerstone of our mission to connect more people to more places, more equitably and more sustainably. We recognize that not only do we move people where they want to go and where they need to go, we do this through every landscape, every habitat and ecosystem in between. We're standing here just about, as you know, just a couple football fields away from our light rail bridge over the Duwamish, and in our current 25-mile light rail system, 4 of those miles run in the Duwamish lowlands, here in Tukwila and in Seattle's Soto neighborhood. There are few ecosystems that we are building and operating in that are as precious or as in need of protection and restoration as the Duwamish. As we continue to build and connect Sound Transit's transformational mobility projects for all our peoples, our generational promise to this region, to our children, to our children's children, is to clearly acknowledge that our mission to build and operate this more sustainable, more equitable mobility network does in fact cause harm. And with that acknowledgement, we then have a promise. We must promise to honor that sacrifice by acting to preserve, protect, and restore the region's treasured tribal, cultural, and environmental heritage to create a lasting legacy that restores, protects, and expands previously damaged habitats and ecosystems. Sound Transit very proudly funded the $11 million, or 66% of this project's cost. We are a proud partner with King County's Mitigation Reserves Program to help make this happen today, and we look forward, very much look forward, to many more such partnerships in the future to honor our heritage and our obligation to our communities, to this land, and to our future. Thank you so much.
The City of Tukwila, Ryan 9, and the Puget Sound Regional Council are all trusted partners, and we rely upon them for their guidance and their funding. And we're really fortunate that there's one person here today who can represent all of those organizations, Mayor ALLAN EKBERG.
Well, Well, thank you for that introduction. As mentioned, Allan Ekberg, Mayor of the City of Tukwila, and joining YR9 as a representative board member. We have so much going on in this great city, and it's thanks to the conglomeration of the folks here that make it happen. First off, congratulations to King County for making this happen with their staff and the funding from Sound Transit to make it happen as well. I'm here today not just as the Mayor of Tukwila, but also a member of YR9 Salmon Recovery Partnerships that has embraced restoration and special watershed and habitats for our salmon and our fish habitats. Chinook Wind, where we're at today, is a remarkable example of a collaborative effort amongst many different departments working to restore the health and welfare of the green Duwamish River. Chinook Wind not only supports salmon, but provides critical needed green space and improves the quality of life for the locals around us. Everyone recognizes that the green Duwamish River is an urban watershed, and we have to recognize the importance of it to not only the salmon, but to the recreational capabilities that can provide to help the residents of our local areas. If we think about what's going on here locally and we expand that into a more regional basis, there's a lot of great opportunities ahead of us. Within a 0.5 mile radius of where we're at today, there's 5 natural habitat restoration sites, including the Duwamish Gardens behind most of you. And just upstream, over here, we have the Riverton Creek, which was opened up to the waterway of the Duwamish to allow fish to come back into their native habitat. Every piece of the watershed and every jurisdiction within plays a major role in providing projects that are underway and new opportunities for improvements. Those are being identified as we speak. Tukwila desires to provide 4 acres of land to the King County Flood Control District that abuts the Duwamish River just south of I-405 with the purpose of making it a salmon habitat restoration environment. So I want folks to be aware of that opportunity. And the reason that can happen is because of our new fleet and facilities building, which we moved off that 4 acres along the river. The growing networks of sites help shelter our fish, shelter our animals, provide rich food habitat, supports juvenile salmon as they journey up and down the Puget Sound. They also enhance the marine survival rate of other species as well. Large capital projects like these are not easy to accomplish in an urban watershed area such as this. Numerous stakeholders, our first people, limited availability of land, critical infrastructure, all that plays a part in what has to be overcome to allow these type of developments to happen. Salmon projects are not only supportive of salmon recovery, but also strengthen climate resiliency, help honor treaty rights, mitigate flood risk, and provides access to our locals. In 2024, the City of Tukwila is proud to mention we'll be working towards a public trail corridor along the river where we stand today that'll combine the Chinook Wind development along with the garden development up ahead of us. In closing, I want to thank King County, its partners, its stakeholders in the community for a job well done, and for all of us here to recognize that job well done. Thank you.
The native vegetation that you see along the estuary was planted by members of Green Start. It's one of 2 programs we have in our department where we offer ecological career opportunities to our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness. And we do that in partnership with Dirt Corps. It's my pleasure to introduce 2 of our crew members, Danielle Spooner and LATOYA Kennedy.
So thank you, King County, for trusting us with this project. We learned so much from it. At that point, me and LATOYA actually had only been working in the program since October, so this was really a learning spot for us. We learned a lot of twig ID. Some of you will know that's a little bit more difficult. We did come from a background where this wasn't an opportunity for us. Green Start program opened up doors where we don't need that college education. You can come in and get those skills you need. Since we started this, we've learned so much, but we've been hired on to Dirt Corps, and this project I think had a lot to do with this, us proving ourselves. Everybody's well established in our program. There's 3 that aren't with us today. I'd like to recognize their hard work. Maisha Taylor, Jaden Raposa, and Kimberly Belliana. those three also worked out here with us in Green Start. We are all now hired on to Dirt Corps, permanent workers. Our annual income has doubled. We are self-sufficient, and that's what we did. And this project here had a lot to do with us proving ourselves. Mason, I want to thank you personally for trusting us in some of the changes every day. I hope we went through them smoothly for you, because it just happens. And we all just tried to keep our spirits because things happened, and yeah, I think we all rode through it pretty good. And trusting us with this project too is Andrew and Roseanne Barnhill, Andrew Sheffer. Those guys, they really have given us a trust, and they do whatever they can in our company now to keep that support going for us. They are great to work for. I'm 52. I've worked at a lot of places, and I'll tell you what, there's nothing they don't do for us. And I think this was our starting ground. Thank you again, Mason. Toya? Go ahead, baby.
So for me, Chinook Winds was blood, sweat, and tears, literally.
Yes.
It taught our team how to depend on each other more.
Right.
We grew in a lot of areas, like as far as being able to communicate with each other and others whom we just met in a situation like this. It was hectic. But at the end of the day, it all came together for us and obviously for Chinook Winds. This was our first project we were able to do pretty much from the ground up, I guess you could say. It means a lot to us. We drive past all the time, and it's like, oh my gosh, look, we did that,
Yes.
it's a proud moment for us.
Right.
And like Danielle said, we did get hired on as permanent employees through the program. We're steadily growing every day from the program, and the program's continuously helping us day in and day out. So thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody. It's so gratifying to hear the Green Start crew, and that whole episode really just makes me happy about this project. I'm an ecologist with King County, and I had the privilege and really the honor of being entrusted to take this project from design and through construction. And I worked with a really wonderful team, many of whom are here, some of them aren't. And our work stood on the work of the team who conceived this project and purchased the property and really had the vision to see that early on. And even all that stands on some pretty great science that's been going on in the Duwamish for the last few years. And I'm going to kind of explain a little bit about why this project is what it is. We're standing on what is and has been since the glaciers last retreated at Estuary. And Estuary is a place where the salt water that drains the Cascades meets the fresh water, that drains the Cascades, meets the salt water coming up in the oscillating tides from Puget Sound. And it's a place that's critically important for the life histories of many, many species. But 3 rivers used to drain through this estuary, and now there's only 1. And about 98% of what was once a vast network of oxbows and wetlands and channels has been 98% paved over. There's very little of it left. All that's left is this river, this channel. And the salmon that pass through this estuary were spawned higher up in the Green River, most of them way upstream of Auburn, where the river looks a lot more like a natural river that drains the Cascade Mountains. And as they emerge from the gravel, they're very small, as you can imagine, in the middle of the winter. And as you can imagine, they're not much match for a big winter river that's flowing fast. It's also important, and so they begin to go downstream pretty much immediately. It's important to note that there are different species of salmon have different life histories. There are some fish you might even see out in the river right now that are pink salmon. The pink salmon hatch from the gravel and they go right out to the sound right away. They evolved to do that. So their life histories are not much dependent on the conditions in the river. Pacoho salmon and Chinook salmon and most other species have to spend some time rearing in the river to grow, or else when they hit the salt water, they just don't make it. So scientists can tell by looking at the otoliths in these adult returning fish, which are little bones in their ears. And they can tell by looking at those bones exactly how big those fish were when they first hit the salt water as young salmon. And, sorry. We estimate about half of the, we know from that too, that if they don't make it to about 2.5 inches, that they're not going to make it. If they aren't at least 2.5 inches big by the time they hit the salt water, they're probably not going to return to spawn. And we estimate about half of the juvenile Chinook salmon that hit Puget Sound are too small, and they're not going to make it. So now as our little Chinook salmon emerges from the gravel upstream of Auburn and it begins its journey downstream, its task is to find some place to get out of that current where it can find some cover and spend some time and find some bugs to eat. But if you've looked at the Green River as it flows through the Kent-Auburn Valley, you'll see that it's pretty much a flume. There just aren't many nooks and crannies where a fish can get out and find some bugs to eat. So what we're doing here, and what's been done elsewhere along the Duwamish, at Duwamish Gardens, at North Winds Weir, at Cecil Moses Park, and lots of other places, is to make a place where these fish can get out of the river, spend a little time, grow that extra half inch, find some bugs and some cover, and so they're big enough when they get to the Puget Sound that they survive and they come back to spawn more salmon. What we've tried to do is make this site kind of the perfect place for them to do that, a place where they can come out, find some low-angled, vegetated bank, hang out for an extra month, get big enough, survive that transition, and come back to spawn or be orca food. So again, I'd like to thank Murph and Megan and our management and the people who saw this site first and had the vision to see what it could be and the courage and persistence to stick it out and really push it through and bring this project to fruition. And thank you. I'd really like to thank, again, all the people who helped. This was a huge team effort. Mason, there's lots of people here who worked on this project, and there's lots of people here who are not here who worked on this project, and really wonderful people to work with and a great team effort. Thank you.